only 3 teams kept their drivers from last season. One of them is Mercedes, and one of them is your team, Williams. And they also announced an old senior advisor joining them, and Jenson Button. What do you expect from Jenson Button and the Williams team there, Mike?
Well, hopefully he brings a little bit of gravitas and stability to that team and leadership. I think that's what's been lacking with Williams, is just solid leadership. It almost seemed like they had a bunch of chefs in the kitchen, all with great ideas, but nobody really could bring everything together and focus everybody on the common purpose of getting a car fast enough for the drivers to be able to get out of last place. I mean, it's disheartening. I mentioned it before. It's disheartening when you get a tweet from the Williams team and it's like, "Hey guys, P27 and 28, the guys did great." No, they didn't. They sucked. They were in the last place. They were lapped. And a lot of that I think a lot of it had to do with the car. So hopefully he brings a little bit of stability to be able to get people focused enough to get the car to the point where the drivers have a shot to win. Not just get to the middle of the pack and win the points, but to win.
Exactly. And personally, what I expect from Williams this season is not just move up, not just only a couple spots, but they could follow into that mid-tier of constructors. It could go follow into AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Alpine, all of them right there. And for me, we'll get into the Constructors Championships later on, what we expect from them. But for me, that mid-tier could go either way. So if Williams could get into that mid-tier, which I think they would, that could bode very, very well for Williams starting this season. Chaz, do you see something different than what I see here?
I mean, in order to get into the mid-tier, they have to be better than AlphaTauri, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, and Haas. I mean, Haas is kind of easy. I mean, I don't know. That seems like a big jump. Obviously, like Mike said, like having new management or at least new leadership in there definitely could make a difference. But I mean, they still have to solve some pretty big engineering issues. It's not just a matter of morale that's holding them back. So it would be very impressive, but leadership doesn't improve engineering.
Well, this is true, but you also bring in Dorilton Capital, which they're going to bring in some cash. But we talked about last week how all the teams are now under a spending cap of $145 million this year, trying to basically even everybody out. But for me, Mike, I don't.
This year, or I thought that was next year.
No, it's starting this year, 2020.
Oh wow!
It's starting the spending cap this year. So I said before, they keep in the same drivers, so they see something in the drivers, especially George Russell there. But for me, Mike, I don't know. It's just I see them. I mean, we'll talk about Haas in a minute because that's going to upset me right there. But I don't see too much with Alfa Romeo.
Well, Latifi brings money. He's got a lot of money behind him. So yeah. I mean that's kind of his value add, I would say. But I think George Russell's the much better driver.
Oh yeah, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. We see like on our winners and losers, but I saw George Russell as a potential championship winner. But if you give him the right car, and said before, I think they're on the steps to becoming a better, much better team. And as you point out, Chaz, but Mike, do you see the same thing as Chaz did with, management does not really help out the team that much as far as engineering and stuff like that?
Well, I think their intentions are good. I don't think it's an intentional. It's anytime you have, especially with Williams, it was an established family. So you have this, it gets stale. And it gets to the point where there's nobody that has the vision to push it to the next level. So they kind of get caught into, and I get a lot of this off the Netflix Drive to Survive series, which if you haven't watched that yet, that's a fantastic. It's like a inside look at all of the F1. So they visit all the teams. One of the common things thread that I heard with the Williams team is that there's nobody breaking out of the pack to make the changes necessary to get the right machine underneath those drivers. And, when you got a car, I mean, George Russell, in I think it was 2 years ago in the 19 season, he was going down a straightaway and cars were just passing him. And he's like, this is crazy. I'm dead out. I'm going as fast as this car can go. Why are we even out here? What's the point? And you got these cars just blowing by me, and I've got my DRS open. And it was a very frustrating time. And you just see the cars are just blowing by. And of course, they get lapped about every single. It needed a fresh look, some fresh eyes, maybe some different ideas to shake things up and get people moved in the right direction to get a good machine under these drivers. Because what they're doing now isn't working.
Well, you said this last week too, Mike. Like, the good thing is that they're in last, right? So they can't get any worse.
They can't get any worse.
So they can take some risks. I mean, so I'm excited to see. Maybe this means that they will break out of the box and take some risks and try something new. I mean, the worst that could happen is they repeat what happened last year, which is, what difference does it make? At least you took a shot. At least you have some new data to kind of compare it to. But if you do the same thing, I mean, obviously you're going to get the same results. At least you have something to compare it to if you try something new.
And there's also the money issue. So the cap that everybody's going to have is also going to help out, because Williams is one of the poorer teams. They don't have the even with with their sponsorship, them, and I think the other one, the other poor team. I can't think of it off the top of my head. They just don't have the capital to put together what they need to get the car. So, there's a deficit there, and they didn't use those funds wisely to make the best of a bad situation. I mean, that's why I had a question. You got a Mercedes power plant in the Williams cars and the Mercedes power plant in the Mercedes cars, but how come the Williams cars are 10 times slower? Right. You take George Russell and stick him in Hamilton's car, and he's leading the whole race. You put him in a Williams car, he can't even get out of the grid. I think they only made it into the second round of qualification 2 or 3 times maybe, and that was because the other cars were having mechanical difficulties.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mike, they're not not one of the poorest. They are the poorest, because they spent $132 million, which is the lowest last year of any team.
Yeah. Well, they got 0 points.
0 points.
0.
Now, granted, AlphaTauri was right next to them, which was Toro Rosso last year, but they were 138. They were not too far off, but still. Yeah, we talked about that last week, but I don't know. I just see, as y'all pointed out earlier, you can't finish worse than last. So, I mean, this is, granted, a building season for everybody. But for me, I think Williams will probably benefit, one of the better teams to benefit from it this season. But we shall see.
Well, even if they score a point that did better than last year, I'd like to see them at least mid-pack. If you're fighting to get in the points every race, that's better than being lapped by damn near everybody.
I mean, let's be honest. Are they going to come top 10? I mean, top 10 is like not. I mean, it's one thing to be mid-pack. It's another thing. I mean, obviously 10 is literally mid-pack, but I mean, but being top 10 or breaking that top 10 is like, it's not going to be an easy deal. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about them. I don't know about the team. I don't know about. Obviously, they got a great driver, but like, I just have no faith in their engineering team at all.
Well, the top tiers right now, you're looking at Mercedes, Red Bull. Even though they finished 6th last year, you got Ferrari. I even would throw McLaren in the top tier, lower top tier, but top tier nonetheless.
No, I think they are. I think they're going to outperform Ferrari this year.
So that leaves that's four. So it leaves the other four, including Williams, in the mid tier. So before you got Toro Rosso. I'm sorry, you got AlphaTauri, you got Alpine, and Renault, and you have you got Williams, and you got Aston Martin. Those four teams right there could very well make up the mid tier. And do you see the same way, Mike, or you see something different?
I mean, if they can get it together to get their machines right, they have the drivers. All the teams have the drivers.
Right.
But they're going to have to make some changes. Because, of course, if they move into the mid-tier, you're going to move four down into the bottom.
Right.
So who's in the mid-tier now that's not going to improve? We know Mercedes is still going to be a class act, so they're going to be at the top. We know that Red Bull is going to be right up there with them, even though they'll be searching for a new power plant here after this year. I mean, if you look at all the races last year, it was Bottas, Hamilton, Verstappen, or Hamilton, Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, or Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas. I mean, it was, and then the other Red Bull cars was right there up in the top 5, top 7. But to move those four into the mid-tier, I mean, then the question is who's not going to keep up? Who's going to be bringing up the rear then?